Okay, good morning, or afternoon, or evening. Welcome to the Daher TBM 930. Today we're at Kathmandu. We're going to be making a flight to Lukla. Obviously the most dangerous airport in the world, and I can now see why. In my flight training we've talked of short runways, meaning about 750 metres. Lukla's 580 metres, so it's shorter than the short runways that we talk about in Austria. In addition, as we probably know, it's in the Himalayas, so there are very few alternates because the terrain just doesn't allow for airports in this country. Please stop. Oh no, my engine's ruined. Anyway, ignoring that rolling piece of ground equipment, obviously the ground isn't level here, we need to get this engine started, and the TBM 9T does have a very particular start sequence. I'd actually say it's more complicated than an Airbus. So, first things first is the pre-flight check. So basically check all these lights off, the crash bar is downwards, starter is off, and ignition is off. Yeah, let's do it there. All these off, manual, off, good. Okay, then we come down, so we do top panel, from left to right. It's a very simple aircraft actually. Because, okay, look, we can even do those. Yeah, there's not a lot going on. It's very electronically controlled. So then we come down here, we have a look. We've got pilot packs off, so we put it for the passengers as well. I'm going to let the fan go on level 2. This is air conditioning basically. Display backup wise, I can click in a pilot. I bought one of the I didn't buy one actually. I downloaded the modifier. We've got emergency ram air, but we don't want to have that on. There's the static source there. That's to activate. We don't need that either. So all of the de-icing equipment is off. We need the inertial separator off as well. That basically stops any gunk getting in the engine. We're not going to have any electric, so this is all off, bleed off, and we're in idle. Grand. So next thing to do then, we come up to the top here. I'm going to put the landing light to taxi, the pulse and strobe lights on. That's what we use. Well, actually just strobes off. Dim mechanics is not important. Main and standby check. Don't know why I'm doing that. This goes to battery. We don't have a GPU here. And generator to main. Okay, then we power up our displays. We need to activate this one here. I'm actually going to check the volts now. We've got 24 and 24, which is okay for just running off the battery. The next thing we need to do set up a flight plan really. So I'm going to change the nav source to FMS because I'm going to be using GPS for this flight. There are nearly no nav aids in there's only this one here.
TOS system test okay.
System test okay. Right, so speed bugs wise, I want all of them on. Timers, minimums, traffic map, that's fine. PFD map section, so we're going to have inset map, traffic, settings. Okay, yeah, relative data, aviation-wise, I want all of those, and this is all good as well. All back. Okay, PFD settings, AOA, wind, option 1 is set, so okay, this is actually remembering my last settings. And we've got hectopascals for our altitude set. So we're going to go to MFD now, the soft key here. Flight plan, add origin, we're at VNKT. Tripuvan. We need to use a procedure. We're going to depart runway 20, and this is going to come from Navigraph actually, this next part here. So if I load my old, there we go, there's my flight loaded. So it's VNKT to Lukla. It's a Igris 1 alpha departure, which is this right hand looping circuit. We're going to get to Igris and then we turn to KIMTI, and from KIMTI actually what we need to fly is 086 bearing, and that's going to take us to a point around here, and basically that's the difficulty there is actually setting that up in the FMC, because if it's an FMC from an Airbus, that'd be no problem. You just write KIMTI/08/23. That's our initial approach fix, and 14,000 feet as a constraint, but it's not going to work. So we're going to actually go for. Let me just check the charts. Charts-wise, departure. We've got 1 Charlie and Delta. Those are for the wrong runways. That's also the right runway, so I could do that one. And actually I will, so Igris 1 Echo. Load. Yeah, there we go. The path is now loaded into the display, so you can see it's a very nicely curved one. And then we arrive at KIMTI, so we go back, and then we're going to go down, 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 down. Ahal. No, I don't want Ahal. I wanted KIMTI actually, so let's check that one more time. Procedures, no. Transition, KIMTI. There we go, that'll be it. Load that. Okay, so that should now take us to KIMTI, and it does. So from KIMTI then we need to just be very quick in applying a thing, unless somebody knows how to do that. VNav wise, VNav is enabled. So at Igris I want to be at about 20,000 feet. And then I go down here. KIMTI I'm going to say 18,000. There we go, and everything before we can just do it as per the SID, so we need to look at the altitude here. So 220, we need to be 908 to be at 7,500 plus. And then Igris is fine, and then KIMTI is also fine. Minimum safe altitude within 50 miles is 11,800 feet or 28,400 feet to the north. That's because of the Himalayas, basically. Okay, so that's going to be pinned. Taxi, I'm going to pin the airport info, this one here. And the one thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into MFD menu. Use half and half, that's a nice display. I'm going to set the no, this one's going to be map, and this one's going to be weather. So we're using the radar. Radar settings, radar on, display weather, horizontal. So there we go. We've now got a weather radar up on the right hand side there. And on the left hand side, I'm now going to check charts, departure, charts options. Somewhere in here I could connect this. Utilities setup, Avionics. Yeah, that's the one. Database settings, Navigraph charts, linking accounts. I'm just going into my Navigraph now. This is with the working title 3000, so it allows this to basically do everything. So this is now linked, linking account. This is a default MSFS plane, so this is pretty awesome actually. Okay, account is now linked, so I can now go back into charts. There we go, I can get the Ignis 1 Echo on, I have departure there, and I want the charts to be in night mode, because I just find them easier to see there. And there we go, so now we can zoom in on the chart. Ish. Okay. Oh, there's the zoom control, so we're basically looking on here, so I can go like that. Okay, so I want this part here. Right now. Zoom out maybe one there, there we go. Okay, set to go. We just need to now start the engine. So we've still got 24 volts. Engine start procedure, parking brake is on, and this is all okay. This is in low idle. We go up here. We've got the strobes on. I'm going to actually put the cabin and access lights on. Door needs to be closed. There we go, door's now closed. Top corner now, so we're going to go alternator, so ignition to auto. Auxiliary fuel pump on. And this needs to go to AP trims on. Flip this to start. Have a look down here. Ignition, aux boost pump. Okay, oil pressure's rising. Okay, NG is at 13%. We go to low idle. We check the starter. Starter's now off. The NG has reached 30% before 30 seconds. That's good. And we're now at 50% before 50 seconds. 50%, we come out of the idle and we go into flight idle. There we go. So that's set. K propeller's now rising into the yellow. NG is positive. ITT is below the maximum. Oil pressure is at the correct pressure and oil temperature is already there. Torque percentage is just our...
Aural warning, okay.
All warning is okay. Aux boost pump on, bleed off. So we need to put the bleed onto auto. Now the engine started, inertial separator, stalling heat and left heater is on. We need to turn the auto boost pump to auto. The ignition is now on auto and fuel selector to auto. Okay, we're good to go. Let me just check if I've not missed anything. There was maybe something with the after engine start checklist. So throttle is low idle to flight idle, correct. Oil pressure temperature we checked already. Aux boost pump needs to go on. Auto. Fuel selector auto. Fuel selector shift check. AP trims to on. Generator to main. Bleed auto max diff. We've done that as well before. Taxi checklist. Inertial separator on. Flight controls. So I'm going to look out the window now. Flight controls. Full left deflection to the left. Right deflection to the right. Up and down are providing full normal motion. Flight controls free and correct. Flaps up. Correct. Throttle feather twice. That means do that. And we're looking for a reduction in the torque there. And as we feather it, we should see an increase in torque and increase in RPM. Okay, correct. Taxi lights on. Good. Parking brake release. Okay, so we're going to release the parking brake. Start taxiing. We're taxiing to runway 20, which is just this one over here. Oh no, there's a strong wind from the other side. Okay, change of plan. We're going to take a different departure. Let's take Igris 1 Charlie Delta, I think it is. Yeah, so we'll take Charlie or Delta. Let's have a look at which one exactly. So if I zoom in now. No, that's not the one I want. Okay, I want this one here. 1 Delta. Okay, so Ignis 1 Delta. So I'm going to go back into my flight plan, home, flight plan, procedures, VNKT, Ignis 1 Delta, runway 02, transition, KIMTI. Okay, load. And then we're going to go back to home, charts. I'm going to actually turn this off, home, click on map. There we go, we've got the runway right there. Okay, that's now correct. ComNav, we actually don't have very many in ways of NDBs that we could take with us. Let's just zoom in on this and see if we've got anything there. So there's nothing mentioned on here. Let's just check the altitude constraints. So there aren't any. So we'll just do KIMTI for like level 200-ish. Okay, ready to go. Back to... I'm just going to keep this view because it's a good one. We've got traffic map on here, so if I just click on that traffic map there, PFD settings, bearing 1, bearing 2 off, other PFD settings, wind angle of attack on, altitude units, it's all fine. Okay, so we'll just let the engine warm up for a second. I'm going to connect myself to the VATSIM. Raw Nepal. Connect Royal Nepal 5 Lima Kilo, TBM 9, flight plan is KIMTI, VNLK, VNLK, we're departing at 0745 Zulu, about 45 minutes flight time, to flight level 200, okay, far flight plan. The alternate will be coming back to Kathmandu. There are no other airports. There are other airports that are suitable nearby, but they are in the middle of nowhere. They probably have no fuel facilities, no hangar facilities, and no way of disembarking passengers very nicely, even though we've only got 4 passengers. Right. Parking brake off. Inner separations on, that's correct. Okay, so taxi-wise, we're going to go out, turn right. This guy's going to get killed. Taxi checklist, brake, check my brakes, okay. No co-pilot, co-pilot brakes, irrelevant. Directional control is okay, and the flight instruments are following. Just a quick check of the flight instruments while we're taxiing. We're showing the airport elevation at the local QNH. No vertical speed shown, which is good because we're not climbing or descending. Ground speed is appropriate for the taxi speed. No airspeed as we're not above 30 knots. We haven't activated the static pressure. Okay, a bit of a long taxi unfortunately. We will take an intersection departure because I cannot be bothered to roll all the way to the end. We have got 3,000 metres of runway as well here. Okay, so on the taxi roll, I'm just going to do a quick flaps check. So that's flaps 1. Both sides okay. Flaps 2. Both sides okay. Flaps back up to 1 for takeoff. Okay, it's checked. Airspeed's building, that's good. So we know our pitot-static heat isn't blocked. Or our pitot-static pipe isn't blocked actually. Okay, there we go, going past the main terminal now. I'm going to actually put the landing lights to nav and strobes on, landing lights to landing, so we're ready to go. Squawk wise, that should be somewhere here, right? Or transponder. Exponder. No, we're going to be altitude reporting and we're going to squawk 1000 for IFR. Enter. That's the MFD display here. Still trying to taxi along, there we go, you put the map back up and zoom in slightly. I just need to find out what that KTM waypoint is, so let's look at waypoint info, VOR, KTM, enter, we want the one that's in Nepal. Okay, the one that's in Nepal is a frequency of 113.2, so I'm going to choose that there. 113. Nav 2 is 1132. Enter. Nav 1, 1132. Enter. Back. Okay, let's just do a PFD settings. Bearing 1 is nav 1, nav 2, no data. ADF's no data, okay, so that's not good. Something about the nav radio's not working, but that's okay. We'll just continue the flight with GPS, which is annoying. Probably have to press a special button. Okay, there's a chart. It's going to turn left onto the runway now. Okay, line up check. Fuel pump set to the right tank. Fuel pump selector is auto. Checked. AP trim's on. Coming up, flaps to takeoff, power to idle, trim set normally. Anti-icing we're going to go on today. Lighting wise, landing lights on, pulse lights, nav lights, strobe lights on. Good. Right, ready to go. So slowly apply half throttle. RPM is in the good area. Release the brakes. RPM slowly to full. It's a turbo plane, you've got to be slow with it because the turbo lag actually takes a while to spool up the engine. So we're looking airspeed's building, engine instruments are all green. Looking for the rotate speed 19 knots, so that's coming up now. 90 knots rotate. Airborne. Gear up. Pitch up to 10 degrees. Hold the X speed there. So there's my VX. Good. Okay, slight pitch down just to hold it. So we're going slightly to the left now, there we go, to the right slightly. Just going to inset these courses as they are coming. Okay, safety altitude. Bit of power away. Flaps up. Hold pitch and let the aircraft speed up to VY. Now going to engage nav. Vertical speed 1300. Altitude select. 14,000 and autopilot. Engage flight directors on. Yeah, getting a nice climb speed now. We're off tracks, so that's just what the aircraft's doing there. It's just adjusting. You can see that here. I'm actually going to do a direct to, so let's go home. Direct to flight plan. No, flight plan. KT 804. Oh, that's tuned anyway, that's fine. I don't need to do anything there. There we go, R33. Climbing nicely. Actually going to demand a bit more. You can see the airspeed is constantly increasing. We can actually hold 160 knots using the airspeed, using the vertical speed bug. Here goes your passenger view. We're holding around 1600 knots. I'm just going to reduce that to 1700. Okay, 1500 feet per minute, and we're going to set the altitude bug to 20,000. Actually 19,000 would be better since we're IFR eastbound. We've got some rain coming in, that's no problem for us. Windscreen wiper's not available, but we can now turn the landing lights off. Now we're a single engine turboprop, so we do have to keep in mind where we're going to land in case of the nonsense. The nonsense being obviously any... You can see we're actually quite clear of terrain here. Now we're 11,600, so we've got quite a nice clearance from all terrain. It's just a beautiful flight. We're coming around some CBs actually, so I'm just going to check that there's nothing on the radar. So this panel here, weather selection, weather radar settings, on display weather. We're going to zoom out. There's actually no heavy precipitation, so all of these clouds are more or less superfluous, but we will keep our anti-icing on as we fly through them if we do need to, as we never quite know what's going on inside a cloud. Okay, this cloud here we're going to penetrate through the top, so I'm just going to go through the top really. Shouldn't be too much of a factor. Just check anti-icing is all on. Inertial separator activated. Good. Landing gears up, no lights. Lights test. Looks okay. Check down, that's okay. So we're going to get some turbulence as we hit cloud. It is a CB, they are relatively active, though we're not expecting too much. True airspeed at the moment is... We set the barometer to standard, so 13. Now that we're above flight level 135 in Nepal. So here we are coming along the Himalayas, looking absolutely stunning. I think this will be the aircraft I get my type rating on if I do it, because I've got a single engine. If I do my license, I'll have a single engine piston rating. A single engine turboprop is not too much different. We just have to do a type rating for the turboprop, I would imagine, and then probably an IFR license will be necessary to fly this one. I'm actually going to demand the VY speed, so increase the rate of climb until we get to VY. Just go even. There we go, just going really steeply up now. We've got Everest coming into sight over there. It's these ones at the back. VY is the best rate of climb speed, so if we just reduce the speed until that and then adjust the attitude back down, we will end up with the best rate of climb. So I'm just going to use that to adjust this here. Can go a bit higher, 2,200 feet per minute, and we can hold that for a while, basically. Just give us a bit more power there. RPM is in the green, NG in the green, ITT in the green, oil pressure's okay, oil temperature's okay, fuel 64 litres, both tanks, left tank is now slightly empty. Engine looks okay, electronics, volts and amps are still in the green. And location wise, we're just coming up on KT 944, 4 miles away. We could return to Kathmandu if we have any issues right now. Okay, there's our VY. 19,000 feet is pretty much there, so I'm just going to slowly reduce that rate of descent so that we can keep VY, and then we're going to accelerate up to cruise speed. Altitude hold is now flashing. There you go, 19,000 feet, accelerating up. Let's go for about 200 knots. We'll just see what the aircraft's willing to give us, pretty much. Map-wise, let's zoom in. Okay, I don't know how to do custom waypoints, but I will quickly go and Google that because that will be very helpful.
Primero lo voy
So we go into
a la página home,
waypoint info,
info, create
waypoint.
primero
Okay.
bautizas.
So we go into waypoint info, create waypoint. There is no create waypoint. So that's annoying. So we can't really do that. We're just going to have to fly a heading out of KIMTI and then just check our range to KIMTI. So into KIMTI now, which is 20 miles away, and we're going to fly over KIMTI and then we're going to fly another 23 miles before starting our descent. So at KIMTI I'll start our descent down to around 14,000 feet. So let me just check that.
Example, let's say I try to the runway D on example ATC 1E 2E G. Thank you.
200 knots, so we're getting a nice good speed hopefully. Ground speed's 305 knots, fantastic for a small single engine turbine plane like this. KIMTI, 15 miles to go, bearing 092, we're going to continue 086, so we're going to set the heading vocal ready to 086. As soon as we reach KIMTI I'm going to engage heading mode, and hopefully we will hold that. It's unfortunately not possible to set KIMTI as a fix and then fly radial out of that fix. We're looking up ahead, we've got Mount Everest up ahead on the left there, and we're actually going to be flying into this valley here just in front of it. So absolutely gorgeous flight in terms of terrain. Turbulence wise, yes, that was the answer to that question. Yes, there's turbulence. We're flying in the Himalayan mountains, there's always a bit of turbulence here. There's a reason why airlines generally avoid overflight. Tibetan Plateau has 2 or 3 airports and they're all at 10,000 feet or above, which is not always suitable for most aircraft. So yeah, we're basically just going to take that 086 heading and then fly it for 20 miles, so at 200 knots, that's going to be 20 over 200. 1/10 of 6 minutes, roughly, if we keep 200 knots. So 6 minutes is enough time to descend to 14,000, so 14,000, that would be 5,000 below. We've got 6 minutes to do that descent, so we're going to use a descent rate of... So what, 6 times what gets me 5,000? 800 feet now, so... yeah, 850 feet per minute. So 850 feet per minute, I'm going to set the altitude select down to 14,000. I'm going to pop up the only charts that exist, which is a Virtual Airlines flight. Tropic Virtual Airline has it. So it is 13,000 at Fluffy. There we go. Okay, so we need to set 13,000 here. Replan the descent. We need 6,000 feet in 6 minutes, 1,000 feet per minute. Okay, so descending with 1,000 feet per minute at 200 knots. So you need to reduce speed now to 200 ground speed. Going to select the heading now. Here comes KIMTI, 0.1 miles. Heading select engaged and vertical speed to 1000. So there's Lukla, 25 miles away, but we're going to just fly this heading for now. I'm actually going to do a direct to select waypoint KIMTI, just so we've got the bearing and range. Activate. So there we go, KIMTI's at bearing 269, which is good. It's supposed to be 266-ish. So a slight amount of wind correction angle coming from the left, so I'm just going to turn a few more degrees to the left. And the distance is 4.2. We're going to keep going until we get to 23. We've got 14,000 feet. We should be roughly south of VNLK Lukla. Now looking ahead on the radar at 20 miles, we do have some CBs building, and they're a bit yellow, so that means it's quite active. So we'll try and keep that left turn happening quite quickly towards the airport. When we start the left turn, we'll continue our descent down to 10,500 feet, which is initial approach altitude at 4 DME, and then as we come in we should just descend over, and you'll see it on the terrain radar. There will be a little chart. Basically I'm just trying to keep a ground speed of 210 knots, so I'm just using the gas to adjust that. We've got a fixed descent rate now, so just going to reduce a bit there. Coming down nicely, look at that scenery. Lovely. I think that's K2. Everest, Lhotse. Google Maps will definitely makes a huge difference in places like this, as there is actually good photo scenery. You apply it, and sometimes these remote locations don't really have the very good photographic scenery. Keeping an eye now on the range, we've got 266, which is spot on, that's what we want. We're 9 miles away, we're just going to wait until we get to 23 of those miles. Getting a little bit of a tailwind, so we're just going to increase our gas just to keep the ground speed good and active. Speed is 215 knots, that's acceptable. Still on the right path for now. Okay, 13,000 coming up shortly. We need to set the local pressure, so I'm going to do that now. Hopefully, I doubt we're going to get a METAR available, so let's just have a see. Lukla, no METAR available. Okay, we're getting a higher and higher airspeed as we descend into thicker air. That's as we've got more pressure due to more particles of air flowing past that hydrostatic pipe. But the ground speed is roughly constant at 216, so that's okay. That's just done using the power settings really. We're now 15 miles ago, we've got another 6-7 miles to descend, and then we will turn our left turn. It's going to be into this valley here. And actually Lukla is that little strip there. You can't quite see it yet, but you can pretty much get there. So we are visual with the field already. You can see there's no problem with clouds in the valley. We've got a few clouds here at the entrance, but they seem to be getting stopped. There's probably some katabatic wind effect coming over these mountains and blasting those away. So expecting there might be some turbulence over this cloud layer here as the winds meet, because there's probably a south wind converging with a north downward wind in the mountains. Okay, 17 miles. We're going to go for another 5 miles and we're going to turn left heading 001, or just north. I'm going to do. It just makes more sense to do north, doesn't it? Now, landing-wise, runway is heavily uphill sloped, so we are going to fly what will look like a steep approach, but we need to be very careful, basically not to descend too quickly and find ourselves below the profile, so we're actually having to climb back up to the runway because it is so steep that it could give us the illusion that we're too high. So we're going to fly deliberately on a higher approach path, or look like a higher approach path, but actually it's not. And the issue is we've got all this terrain around the airport, so we can't really orient ourselves against a good horizon, really. Coming up on 20 DME now, Lukla visible on the left hand side. We're going to fly in towards this mountain ridge here and use that as our final approach fix to turn over. We need to now descend down to 10,500, so I'm going to just continue the descent now. Okay, there's 23 DME heading north. Going to reduce the gas now down to nearly idle. Flying in a cloud, so just being careful. We're actually going to turn the heading a little bit to the east now. I'm going to zoom in on the map so you can see what I'm aiming for in terms of the actual waypoints. So essentially we're going to aim for this little ridge here. So that's about heading 355. So we're going to keep going 350, 340. So it's this ridge here. We're going to be at 10,500 feet, overfly, and then start our descent. We've only got about 1,000 feet to descend after that point, so we need to make sure we hold that. Okay, we're coming into our flap zone, so I'm going to set flaps layer 1 once the speed is comfortably below. Okay, there we go. 120 knots, flaps 1. Okay, gear down. Getting our configuration set, we can actually reduce that descent rate now. Go for 600 feet per minute, and I'm going to reduce speed to 90 knots. Ish. Runway wise, we were inside before we started the left turn. We've got Everest in the back here somewhere. Flap set to 1, landing light needs to go on now. And the auxiliary pumps are all autos, that's okay. Gear is down, we've got 3 greens, that's checked. MFD, I'm actually going to want map mode, just set there, back. I'm actually going to go for full screen on the map so I can see really clearly where we're flying. Okay, slightly to the right now, heading 350. Coming up on 10,500 feet, we hold that until we are clear of this terrain here. We're going to descend straight down and hopefully spot the runway. There is the runway, it's inside. So we're flying towards this terrain here. I'm going to set flaps 2. That's landing flaps now, so flaps are now for landing. We can reduce down to approach speed 85 knots. Upon arrival, auto brake we don't have, so we'll do manual braking and reverse thrust. The runway will help us slow down, but we'll still try and avoid a really late landing. There's 10.6. Reset the altimeters. Okay, so 10,500 feet figured. So we're going to overfly this ridge here and dive down. It won't be a dive, actually, it'll be a very nice, pleasant approach. Okay, 85 knots is set. Visible with the runway. Autopilot disengaged. Going to start a right turn now. Just keep a descent of around 800 feet per minute. Looking at the ground speed of 110 times 5, we need 500 feet per minute for a free to go glide path. So just using the gas there to slightly regulate that. We can see the runway now. There's been a bit of snow overnight apparently. Okay, looking like a steep approach, as it should. That's a good picture. I'm now aiming for the base of the runway and I'm going to set that as a fixed point that I'm constantly looking at. So I'm not actually paying any attention to what the runway is doing, I'm just trying to keep a constant descent profile at this point. It might be steep, it might not be, but that's fine. We can always sort that out at the end of the flare. I'm going to go fully idle now. Got wind from the back. Okay, numbers.
500.
78 knots, pitch down slightly to keep the speed up. There's the numbers, start flare.
Stall.
Touchdown. Almost didn't need the reverse thrust there. Right, power to get us over the hill. Shut the left wing there. Okay, looks good. Keep going forwards. And we're going to do a full turnaround now. Okay, there we are. Parking brakes set. Get idle. Into the feather. All the icing off. Knowledge. Okay. Ignition's off. Fuel to cut off. Okay, the engine slowly starts. Can't do this until the engine stopped probably. Okay, engine stopped. Wunderbar. Welcome to Lukla. Likewise, all of these can now go off. And we can't open the door, so we're locked in here now. There we go. Nice approach, absolutely stunning scenery. Look at the place. And it's a really good scenery from Microsoft actually. One of the few. So yeah, thanks for joining. 48 minutes long.